To celebrate 10,000 backers on the DC20 Kickstarter, we're doing the top 10 rules in DC20. Yes, that's right. It's a movement now at this point, people. This is insane. The amount of content creators making videos that pop up on my feed and everybody's sharing around on the Discord has been awesome. And again, props to those content creators for just getting the word out here. This is part of why it's so crazy. And then there's the community who's loved it up and gotten behind to lift this thing up. We raised $1 million in 3 days. And I don't even know where we're at right now. At the time of filming this video, we're at 1.1. The next stretch goal is at 1.3, which unlocks a whole bunch of content for all the different add-ons. I'm doing something else special for you guys right now. I'm adding in another stretch goal that we just came up with in Discord talking right now. I was like, oh my, what can we do for what does the community want? And I just am trying to constantly keep a pulse check of the community, see what you guys want. And I see an adventure. So I've butted up another stretch goal right behind the next one. At 1.4, we are giving away an entire adventure to the community. And that's not just every Kickstarter backer, that's everybody, publicly available for free. And it is thanks to the Kickstarter people who have gone and done this for everyone. There's already a ton of stuff that the stretch goals have unlocked for everyone that backs the Kickstarter. And there's also a ton of exclusive rewards for those Kickstarter backers, of course. But this is something, we've transcended this right now. As soon as we pass the million, this whole thing is crazy. So the 1.4 stretch goal is a free one-shot for the entire community, and you're gonna see monster stat blocks for DC20 for the first time, at least our first versions of them. We're gonna take the adventure called The Hunted. We're gonna polish it up, clean it up, and really take it to the next level. And speaking of monsters, I also took the monster guide from the 0.7 alpha, added that for free onto the big bundle that you get of the free stuff on Kickstarter. Scroll down the Kickstarter, there's a link right there. You can get the drive to have all the character sheet, the rules system, and now a monster guide, all for free. If you like what you see, back the Kickstarter, enjoying over 10,000 people as well. But enough of all that. I had to get that announcement out of the way because this is crazy. I can't help but talk about it. So now let's talk about some rules. For the complete top 10 list, we already talked about 1 through 5 in the first video. I'll link that down in the description as well. So number 6 is going to be the multi-classing system. If you're not familiar with the multi-classing system, here's the big picture in a nutshell. Instead of having your class and you level up your class and then you have to stop the progression of your class, don't gain anything else, and then spend your level on a different class, gaining all of its level 1 features. Sometimes that being a broken thing, like Hexblade Warlocks, and sometimes that being you get things that you weren't really intending to get, and maybe you wanted to multi-class for a specific reason, but then you get this bundled package of a bunch of other stuff you didn't care about. So instead, here's how it works in DC20. At level 1, you get all of your character stuff. Sometimes there's options and choices, and you can make it customize it yourself, but you get a pretty straightforward level 1. There you go. That's your class. At level 2, though, things get interesting. You are given a talent at level 2. You can spend this talent within your own class, on your own class talents. Yes, you can spend it on general talents, like swinging your sword harder, skill talents, attributes increasing, sure. But you could also spend that level 2. Again, keep in mind, you're at level 2 and you have this talent. You could spend this talent on a multi-classing talent. What this means is if you take the multi-classing talent option, you can now, like a buffet table, look around to all the other classes. Now, keep in mind, you're at level 2 and you can only look at other classes level 1 features. Any of them, any class's level 1 feature, you can go take one, not all of them, just take one feature from any class, cherry pick it, steal it, now it's yours. So if you're a barbarian and you really like monk training, you want to be even more mobile, you want to run around unarmored, sure, that syncs up really well. Pick that one. But that doesn't mean you also get everything else at level 1. No, you just pick one feature and you get just that feature. But let's say you want to get crazy. Let's say you want to be a barbarian and you want to pick up the sorcery thing. You already have rage that pushes you to the next level. What if you look at Sorcerer and you're like, you know what? I like Overload. Overload pushes your magic to the next level. So you take that feature. Oh, nice. And now you have an overloaded raging barbarian. That just sounds like so much fun. And if a martial class ever takes a feature from a spellcasting class, sometimes that might mean it might cost mana. But wait a second, the martial doesn't have any mana. Or vice versa, if a spellcaster takes a martial feature like Rage that requires you to spend stamina to be able to use it, and the spellcaster doesn't have any stamina. So here's the solution. When a martial takes a spellcasting feature, they get a little booster pack talent that gives them a little bit of mana, a little bit of cantrip, a little bit of spells. And vice versa, if a spellcaster takes a martial class feature, they get a little bit of maneuvers, they get a little bit of stamina, you get the idea. Now, I will say that this system, and this is a sneak peek to the beta 0.8 that's going to be back. All Kickstarter backers, as soon as Kickstarter closes, get access to the 0.8 beta, which is going to update this exact thing. But I don't want to spoil that right now. Either way, whenever you spend this multi-classing talent, you're able to go to any class you want and cherry pick that feature to keep customizing your character while still being your class and still progressing your class. And it gets better because not only does this happen at level 2, but it also happens at level 4 and 7 and 10. Basically, you keep progressing your character as you normally would, customizing it along the way. But if you want to stop every time you get a talent and go take a class talent from some other class, you totally can. And at higher levels, you're able to take higher level class features, and you always just basically stay one notch behind what your current class is. So when you get that multi-class talent at level 4, you can go back and steal level 2 class features. And at higher levels like level 7, you're even able to go take other classes' subclass features. I cannot wait to see the class and character builds. And speaking of character building, number 2, so this would be number 7. And speaking of character builds, the number 7 best rule in DC20 is the prime modifier. If you don't know how this works, in DC20 there are 4 attributes: might, agility, intelligence, and charisma. And your prime modifier just equals whichever one of those 4 is the highest. And that's important because your prime modifier is what you add towards your attack checks, your spell checks, the things you do in combat that you have to do with your class. A lot of times your class will have things add your prime to things, and this makes it to where it doesn't matter which of the 4 attributes you chose. You're not forced into one of them. You play a barbarian, you're not forced to do might. Wizards aren't forced into intelligence. Ranged characters aren't forced into agility. You basically need to take a big step back and think of what attributes you want your character to. Now, whether it be roleplay reasons, if I want to be the face of the party, I want to have high charisma. I really like skills and the lore of the world and making good checks in that way. I want to do intelligence. I like being sneaky. I like being strong, all that kind of stuff. And all the attributes have things that pertain to both combat and non-combat. So your choice still matters on which attribute you want, but not because you're forced to make it. Sure, pick your class and whatever type of class fantasy you want to have, but then also pick what your attributes are. I absolutely love what that opens up and the type of characters that I've seen be made for the first time and not be absolutely punished, because you're going to be fine. Your prime modifier equals whatever's the highest. It doesn't care which one it is. It's just, let's say, oh, it's a 3. That's all I care about. I don't care if it came from agility, might, intelligence, whatever. The go-to example is an intelligence fighter. Yes, you can make an intelligence fighter, mastermind of the battlefield, knows how to swing his sword and hit the right spots, tactician. So your intelligence is a 3, which means your prime modifier is a 3. I don't care where it came from, and I can swing my sword real good. You multi-class and pick up some spell casting, and now you're casting spells. Cool. Your prime is still 3. And staying in the pocket of character creation, rule number 8 for DC20's top rules is class design. I say this in 2 factual parts and one that's more subjective and up to you to decide. One is characters in DC20 are actually fun to play at level 1. It's not boring at level 1 like some other games have that a lot of people complain about. In fact, Colby from D4 Deep Dive said this was his favorite thing about DC20. Here's his little quote here that's also up on the Kickstarter page, is level 1 is fun. This is one of the biggest things I've heard from other people. It's like, I played at level 1. I don't feel like I have to be level 3. I think that's a flaw in a game if you have to level up to be able to have fun in a game. No, start the game at level 1. You have so many cool options. Tell that story from level 1 and let that character build up. DC20's foundation of action points and different other resources to be able to spend in combat, character features that you get at level 1 that you can really use to feel like your class already. And the second thing here is that classes go up to level 10. And that might sound like a negative at first. Oh, what? I thought DC20 was levels 1 to 20. I mean, it's DC20. Max, yeah, it does go to 20. But my philosophy here is for classes to go from level 1 to 10, because how often do we ever get to level 20? There, you can see the numbers on this, the charts, the amount of players that actually get to level 20 is ridiculously small. Leave a comment down below about the highest character that you got from level 1 up to, and then, oh, the campaign ended, or the group had to disband, or the story was over. You never got to your class capstone at that high level. So instead, what if it worked like this? What if you actually designed a class that most people would be able to hit max level of? And in DC20 at level 8 is when you hit your capstone. I'll put a chart up here right now to show the level 1 to 10 of how that whole thing works. Level 1 and 2, you have class features, then you unlock your subclass, then you have some, and you'll see the talent talents sprinkled in along the way. And then your class, at level 5, you get more class features. Level 8 is your class capstone. You're going to be able to play with that cool thing and get that class capstone at level 8, which your campaign probably could get to. And let's say you get to level 10, you get an epic boon and all these cool things, you get your talents. Yes, you hit level 10, you maxed out your class. Don't worry, you're not done, because how you get to level 20 is the prestige system. So in prestige, you pick one of 3 paths: martial, spellcaster, or hybrid. These different paths gives you different amounts of health, stamina, mana, all that different type of stuff. And then you keep leveling up, getting a talent like we just talked about with a multi-classing talent. Man, this video really fits together on accident. But you get these talents that you can go steal other classes features. You can go to your own class's talents and pick those. You can go to the general talent. There's gonna be plenty of talents to just go customize your character. So from levels 11 to 20, that's all you get. You get the stuff from your table and you get talents to just go wild, go crazy, customize that character that you want. This also, side note, will help things not get absolutely bonkers by level 20 and everything's off the rails. Really smoothing out the progression of the class all the way from 1 to 20. And the third thing here is subjective, but if you really do look at all of the classes of what they have to offer at levels 1 and 2 and take a big step back and see what that class fantasy allows that player to feel and play, let the mechanics speak for themselves. I just did a video on the spellcasters, and all the spellcasters feel different in DC20. A druid feels different than a wizard, than a sorcerer, than a warlock. They all could cast the same spell differently. I think that class design speaks for itself as far as people feeling like that class mechanically and roleplay wise. Now, the 9th best rule in DC20, we've been talking about character creation, but what happens when we lose those characters, or what mechanics turn into a character's demise? In DC20, there's a death's door mechanic, which is honestly one of my favorite things because what it leads to gameplay wise. There is no death saves where you have it at 0 hit points and then you have this barrier where you have to make saves and you can take an absurd amount of damage and then just still be okay and you start making death saves and stuff. There's no invisible wall here in DC20. If your character's health ever gets to -3 HP, you're done. Now, it's -3 because your prime is 3, and at higher levels, your prime does increase, and it would be negative that number, so that does scale. But at level 1, if you get to -3 hit points, you're done. So yes, if you are at 1 hit point and you take 4 damage, that's it. And I'll get to what cool gameplay things that means here in a second. But at 0 hit points, what unlocks now is the Death's Door mechanic. While you're at 0 hit points, from 0 to that -3 number, in that range here, you don't go unconscious and you just don't play the game and you're in timeout now, rolling 1 dice on your turn, you're not playing the game anymore. You're still playing the game. You actually now get to role play even that moment of your character teetering on the edge. Mechanically, you go down from 4 action points down to 1 action point, and you're bleeding out, making a roll to see if you continue to lose that health ticking time bomb. But you have 1 action point. You can do what you want with it. You can drink a potion. That might be a good idea if you have one. You can make that final attack that you want. You can move, try and get out of there, whatever you're wanting to do. You have 1 action point to do it. Still letting you play the game, but barely. And I think this is huge because what it changes the game. Instead of having it be optimal to let a player go down, then heal them, which is absurd. Now, healers have to heal them to keep them away from that low number. Because if you are at 1, like I said, hit 4 damage, you're done. So then therefore, that means healers and action economy based around potions or spells or scrolls or the healers of the group actually feel impactful. Keep people up, keep people away from that low number, because that's what it should be in battle. You shouldn't be okay at being low health. And if you are familiar with how DC20 works, is attack rolls every 5 above a target's defense, you deal more damage. Healing works the same way. How the heal spell works in DC20 is the heal spell has a DC of 10. So you make your spell check, you add your stuff to it, and you're trying to hit that 10. If you fail the 10, you still spent mana on it. So yes, you get a minimum result. You heal for 2 hit points. Cool. At least it's something. But if you hit that 10, you succeed. You heal for 3 hit points. Nice. But every 5 that you beat that DC by, 15, 20, 25, you heal 4 more each time. And on a nat 20, yes, you add +2 to your healing. In an early playtest of DC20, I saw the most epic heal I have ever seen to date. Shout out to Fitz from the Pocket Dimension. She swung down from a vine in a 3-point stance with her hand on the chest of an ally that was at -2 hit points. She did a whole bunch of also awesome optimization stuff and then hit a critical heal at a wild time. The table went crazy and she healed for like 8 hit points, fully healing him. So healers feel like badasses. Finally. Whew, get hyped up with that one. And speaking of spells and people feeling awesome with spells, number 10 top rule in DC20, and I'm kind of cheating on this one, but it's spell duels and combo spell casting. I'm sorry I couldn't pick just one, but for spell duels, they are epic and awesome. In DC20, there is no counter spells. spell. Because counterspell leads to some non-cinematic moments where you just say, I counterspell, and then a counterspell, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and then now you're just checking off boxes and marking off spell slots and stuff. Bleh. Spell duels are cinematic moments where you can choose as a reaction to a spell that's cast in some sort of range within you. If you have a spell that makes sense to be able to reach out and protect somebody, intercept it midair, they're casting Burning Hands, and you have Cone of Cold that it meets midair. Fiery projectiles coming in, and you have the shield spell, circle your ally with it. Or a crazy one that happens is someone has Dominate and they're trying to dominate an ally, and then you counter that Dominate with your own Dominate, and you're fighting over your own ally's mind to try and push them out. I just got chills. That's crazy. So not only can you spell duel and have your magics literally collide midair or mid ally's mind, there's also combo spellcast. This was Tricos's favorite mechanic and everything. He did a 5-hour breakdown over on his channel. It's truly crazy, guys, how much content creators have been making stuff about DC20, just going crazy on their own. But combo spellcasting. Basically, this means that if you know the same spell as an ally of yours, you can both cast the spell together. The reason why this is cool is there's something in DC20 called a mana spend limit. You can only spend a certain amount of mana per spell, equal to half your level. So it's a low number at first and it scales over time, but you can only spend this much, and so can your ally. But if you come together, you can kind of bypass that in a way and both cast the spell together, pouring both of your mana into it to enhance it to be something even more. This piece of art is one of my favorites in the entire thing, showing a rune sage wizard in the background, channeling their magics into the draconic bloodline sorceress. Can magic get any cooler? So there it is, the top 10 rules of DC20. We might continue this whole thing going. There's a ton of rules to kind of highlight and showcase, and my content creator friends have done a great job of showcasing all of them. So if any of these rules or the ones I said in the last video interest you, or you want to check out the Kickstarter, it links down below. At this point, it's become a phenomena, and I don't know. It's crazy. You better believe there's going to be a big old sappy thank you video that I'm going to continue to cry my way through like I've done in these live streams that have been happening. I don't even know what the Kickstarter is at right now at the point of this video releasing, but regardless, thank you. Thank you for being a part of this community in whatever way or however long it's been. I have loved seeing people been here from the beginning of me with phones and lamps, recording and stuttering my way through early YouTube videos all the way up to the now. And that leads us all the way up to the people that just found out about DC20, jumped on here, and they're excited about this new game they've never even seen before. I love that excitement. A lot of these people have just seen the teasers the whole time, but to see the amount of excitement in people that just joined, just backed the Kickstarter, it's so awesome. So thank you so much. And until next time, stay creative, think outside the box. Peace.